David, Hidneggers Outdoors. Let's talk about a couple of different ground engaging implements today, and if you're on a budget, what can save you thousands of dollars. Is an implement that is at least mid-50s years old, has never had anything done to it, it's rickety, and it still works like a top. Yes, folks, it is the old-fashioned tillage tool, chisel plow, whatever you want to call it. You can change the chisels out. You see we've got a one on the back here that is for laying off rows in the garden. You know, when I was growing up, we did everything with an old Ferguson 30 tractor and that tillage tool and a 5 or 6 foot blade on the back of the tractor. It didn't have a bucket on it. And I'm telling you, if you're on a budget, you can get something like that and do the work with it with an old $1,200–1,500 tractor. And if you want some more implements, you can get something like this. This is a cultivator I picked up for like 60 bucks at an auction. And I'm going to put that on the back of the LS tractor and just leave that sucker parked down at the garden, because my wife happens to like the LS tractor better than she does the TYM, because it's old school clutching gears, and that's what she likes. This is not going to save you thousands of dollars. This is a 3-point rototiller for the back of your tractor. Now this gives you an idea of what you can do with that tillage tool, chisel plow, whatever you want to call it. If you're just doing food plots or something like that, it's a very cheap investment. You can probably pick one up for $150–200, especially at an auction. One that shape of that one back there, probably less than $100. But that is what you get with a tillage tool. You can also use something like that disc and for your food plots or whatever, but they're going to run a little bit more money probably than a tillage tool. The disc, however, is going to give you a little smoother job. It's going to break the clods up better, but you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another if all you're looking for is good seed to soil contact. This is what you're going to get with the tiller on the back of your 3-point, and this is our garden spot, so it gets tilled up every year. So the soil or whatever is not as compacted. Then I come back through with a cultipacker to firm it up a little bit to where you're not sinking into your ankles every time you try and walk through it. But it works well for gardening and that type of stuff. It also worked great for food plots, but you know, you're talking about a $75 tillage tool versus $2,500 or better 3-point attachment rototiller for the back of your tractor. So you do the math and figure out which one's cheaper. Okay, so what are your questions? I mean, you've seen all three of them in action. The disc is right in the middle of the range. You're going to get 3 to 4 inches on the first pass, depending on how moist and non-compacted your soil is. You can get that probably down to about 6 inches. It ranges midwise on maintenance requirements because it's depending on how much you spend on your disc initially. If you do like I did, would you shut up for just 1 second? If you do like I did, evidently she won't. Here, throw a rock for her. Here. All right, that should give us about 10 seconds. If you do what I did and you buy one out of ignorance, then you end up with a disc that is highly maintenance intensive. Like I'm talking, you go through at least half a tube of grease anytime you want to use this thing. Does it do a good job? Yes, it does. You're probably going to get 3 or 4 inches on the first pass. You make a second pass, you're probably going to get it down to like 6 inches. Would you hush? And if you go back and do it a third time, if you got enough money to buy diesel these days at that price, this dog is driving me crazy. Then, hey, would you hush for 1 instant? Let's throw her another rock. Then, you know, you can get it. Let's look at the range here. That is what, 6, 7, maybe 8 inches. I don't know. If you want an honest assessment, ask your wife. But a disc works great, but it takes a lot of grease, and that's about all the maintenance you got to do to it. This, on the other hand, is, I won't say very maintenance intensive. Yeah, I will. It is very maintenance intensive. You're going to have to keep an eye on all of your discs, all of your tillers down here. I have 2 or 3 broken off from hitting rocks. You can already see out of, I bet I don't have 10 hours on this tiller, and you can look at the tines and see the amount of wear they already have. Plus, you're also going to have to keep both ends of your PTO shaft greased up. Oh, the dogs just found something down in the woods, sounds like. Hope it's not a coyote, because I have to start shooting. Plus, you've got a gearbox back here to work with. Plus, you have either a gearbox or belts over here to deal with, depending on what you've bought. And it does a fantastic job. However, it is the most maintenance intensive, and it is the worst one for your soil. It just pulverizes. Those dogs are going crazy. Absolutely nuts. Don't ever buy a Brittany Spaniel. They're just retarded. They're great bird dogs, but Lord help, you're going to need some special blessings from Christ in order to not kill it. But it takes a lot of maintenance to maintain that. It is the worst one for your soil. And if I had it to do again, would I buy it again? Yeah. every day of the week and twice on Sunday because it works out great for the garden. Now, let's take a look at the last option we showed you. Where's the tillage tool? Here it is. This is a tillage tool. And pardon me while I throw another rock for this dumb dog. Here, rock, dog. All right. We got a couple of seconds, maybe. A chisel plow, tillage tool, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's just a chunk of metal. You're not going to break it. It's pretty much impossible to break it. I mean, look at this. I'm telling you, this disc is at least 50 years old, if not older. The chisels are the original chisel points that have been put on this plow. I cannot tell you the number of hundreds of hours that this thing has endured laying off a garden that fed a family of 7. My dad used to make the mistake of letting us kids ride on the back of this until he saw one day when one of these chisels hit a big rock or a root or something, and the springs expanded and then snapped back. And then, I mean, you could lose a finger that fast. And so we never got to ride on the back after he saw that. But these things just work great. I mean, look at this thing. It's 50, 55 years old. It's rickety. I need to replace those pins, but I keep thinking, why bother? Because it still works like a champ. It's rickety as all get out, and yet it still does a bang up job on what I want it to do. So I'm not going to waste the time, effort, and money to put new Cat 1 hitch pins on it or replace top links or anything else if it's still working like a champ. I mean, I don't see why you would go to that expense unless you just want everything perfect. And if you do that, homesteading ain't your business. All right, get in here, jump in it. Here, go for a ride. So we've got the hopefully pregnant golden retriever in here. The Brittany and the English setter can just run along as they see fit. And if you got any questions, please drop them in the comments below. I'll probably halt this post for about a week or so. And if you got any questions, drop them. If they show up down there while I'm looking, I'll be sure to answer them. I answer every comment I get if it's within like a month or 2, or sometimes even 6 months or a year. But if you like this kind of stuff, I'm just trying to save you money, because everybody else that's out on YouTube is, they got a new sponsor, they got a new this, they got a new that. They're trying to sell you. I won't say that. That's wrong. Just cut all that. I will just say there might be an incentive for you to spend more money than you really need to spend in order to get into this homesteading business. All you need is a cheap $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 tractor, you know, a Ford 8N, an old Farmall Cub Cadet, something of that nature, and you're going to be able to do fine. You don't have to buy all this fancy new painted up equipment. You can get an old piece of equipment like that tillage tool, like that excavator I showed you earlier, something like that, and I mean, you can use that and lay out a 2-acre garden and maintain it no muss, no fuss, and put all that stuff away for your family to eat in the winter or when times get hard. You don't have to spend 30, 40, 50, 60,000 dollars, go in debt on a I got a tractor that costs a little over 20 when I bought it, and one that cost a little over 40 when I bought it, plus all this equipment you see out here. Not necessary. You can do this by shopping on Facebook Marketplace, or get in touch with your local auctioneer that does estate sales. Especially if you live in ag country, they're going to have all kinds of this ag equipment available to purchase, and it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper than you can think of buying any of this stuff. I mean, you buy this stuff new, I mean, it's going to be expensive. So if you don't have that kind of money, don't think that you can't do this type of lifestyle, because you can. It just requires some work, and it requires a little bit of research on your part, not a whole lot, just a little bit, in order to look around and find this stuff. And just because it looks ugly, it doesn't mean it doesn't work any better than it did when it was brand spanking butt new, because it does. If I wasn't in the position I was in life, I wouldn't have one of these daggum 3-point rototillers. I've got a rototiller that does the same thing, but I have to walk behind it and do each 30-inch pass in the garden doing it myself. So you don't have to do all of that in order to have a successful homestead. It requires a little bit more elbow grease, but not much. I mean, you get a tillage tool, you get a cultivator. Between the two of those, it cost me less than $200. And if you had a cheaper tractor like a Farmall or a Ford 8N or something like that, yeah, you can do that. I guarantee you can do that. But if you got any questions on any of this stuff, leave a comment below and I'll be sure and answer them if you leave it within the next couple of months. And other than that, I mean, please leave your questions, leave your comments, leave your suggestions. If you're an old-time guy at this and you've done this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you know, help these other brothers out. And, you know, post your comments below. But other than that, got anything, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Hitnickers Outdoors. Bye.